Hey there, everyone. We are the Gratitude Girls.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I am Catherine Asaro Myers. Rara is in the house. Gratitude Girls with my partner.
I am Laurie Delk. And I am here in Nashville, Tennessee. Where are you, Catherine?
Tonight I'm in Toronto. I'm in Ontario, Canada, and I'm happy to be here. It's absolutely gorgeous, and I'm so excited about tonight's training. Tonight we're going to speak to you about the science of speaking. So let's keep it brief and to the point for those people who want to have the information quickly, process it, and take action on it. Laurie, would you like me to start?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Awesome. I'll give a quick background on my business background and let you know that I do use what we're going to discuss tonight in all of my businesses. So I won't give you a list, but I will tell you I'm an executive with Send Out Cards. So that's a business where I speak to people. That says enough in itself. I'm the creator, the founder, and CEO of The Bridge. That's a unique educational platform that demonstrates change and positive action. I'm the co-host of Gratitude Girls. I'll stop there. With that being said, that's to give you some idea that in all of those businesses, I am speaking to people. I'm speaking to my partner, Laurie. We're speaking to our guests. We speak to people that we do not know in our greeting card and gifting business. Sometimes they're complete strangers, and sometimes those people are people that we know for a long time, for years, even 10 years. They could be our customers for a very long time, and we do speak with them. So what does that mean? What does that have to do with, in my company, The Bridge, I'm speaking to people about very in-depth and very detailed parts of their business and what their personal goals are. Sometimes we're speaking from a stage, and our guests are nowhere to be seen because there are lights all over the place, and we're looking for a familiar face so we can focus on that one person. So what does that have to do with the science of speaking? So I'll give you a little bit of a background on what I do and how I approach a scenario. So for example, if I'm going to be speaking to someone for the first time, I would like to have their name, and I'd like to have their website if possible. I'd like to have their email so I know what they use as an email for that communication. I like to do a little bit of research on them. So I will go to their website first, and that would indicate to me if they have a website that's working or current and what type of communication they use. And then I will use LinkedIn. I'll use a social media platform, and I'll look at their business acumen and see what they have done or if they're active. I do this type of research. I'll use Facebook because it's a social media platform, and I'll see if they were active on Facebook, or if they have a business page, or if they have some type of a group. So for example, Laurie and I have a group, and we have a business page. So you could find Gratitude Girls on Facebook, and I would also probably use Instagram and Twitter, and I'd see what their social profile is and how they communicate with people. So the science for me is to observe what people are saying to me. I'm listening, and before I get into the scenario of where I have the opportunity to listen, I like to learn how they speak to other people, and that would require me to know a little bit about them. If I could have a brief communication with them prior to a meeting, that would be awesome. I'll learn their habits, and I could perhaps imitate or mimic, maybe, if that makes sense, the type of communication that they have, so we could have some common denominator. Excuse me. So my tip, my advice, my training for tonight is the science of speaking is to learn your audience. If it's a platform selling, if it's a platform presentation, and there are 100 or 1,000 people or 3,000 people in the audience, know what the scenario is about, and then give it your best. Laurie, sorry.
Yeah, so I do that too, right? With speaking all the time. Same thing. I run networking luncheons here in Tennessee. So I do them 7 times a month all over Middle Tennessee. It's called the Nashville Networking Business Luncheon. And then I also travel and speak all around the world, usually 1 to 3 times a month. Most of our Gratitude Girl shows, I'm traveling somewhere, speaking somewhere different. And so, and then occasionally I'm back at home. So yeah, same thing. And then with Send Out Cards, I'm also with them talking to people. And then with clients, I do a lot of coaching and training as well. And so when we're doing those, the same thing, you want to talk to people and you want to, if at all possible, research as much as possible before you start talking to them, right?
Yes, pardon me for that opportunity to cough on the show. That was amazing, wasn't it? So what happens in real life stuff happens. So when you're speaking to someone, try to make a good first impression. And if you can do that in the first 5 seconds, if you cough while they're speaking or when you're supposed to be listening, then they hopefully will forgive you. I do like the aspect, Laurie, of having the ability to research people using social media. I will ask people directly if it's the first time I'm speaking with you. I'll communicate with you and say, Laurie, what is the best way? And we ask this of people on our show so often, what is the best way for people to reach you? So the preferred method. And once I'll lean towards that because I want them to feel comfortable. And then once I know that about them, then I can speak with them in a level where they're comfortable, where they feel that I care because I've taken the time to learn about them. And if I have no chance to do any of the above because I'm at an airport, or it's somebody who's called me off the cuff and said, I really need to speak with you right now and let me introduce you to someone, and I take that call because I'm available, then I will build rapport as quickly as possible. What I will do, instead of being able to do the science of social media or the science of communicating with someone, I will use the science of asking questions. So the science of speaking is the science of listening. It's the science of having someone else tell us about them, as opposed to me telling that person all about me. The science comes into, Laurie, so great to speak with you. I'm so glad that Carolyn introduced us. Can you tell me a little bit about what it is that you'd like us to discuss today? Because someone might say to me, hey, let's get on the phone with Laurie. You know what she wants to do? She wants to do X. And as much as I believe that that's true, I believe that the moment that the interception happens of having another person, things might change. And it happens 9 times out of 10 that someone will tell me why I'm getting on a call with someone. I have no time to do research. And when I ask the question, I get a totally different answer of why the person's on the phone. So that's the science of asking questions so that the person can tell me they're allowed to change their mind. They're allowed to tell me that, yeah, well, this is what I want to do. Maybe that's not what they wanted to do 20 minutes ago. And that's what they feel. And we go with that. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah, absolutely. And then I think also that the opportunity you take to ask those questions gives them that chance to let you know what their problem is, what issues they may be having, or what it is that they're wanting you to solve in the first place that's getting you on that phone call or that Zoom or in-person meeting, right? They're having you be there to solve something, right? And so when you ask those questions, you can get a deeper answer that maybe whoever introduced you might not be fully aware or know how to fix, as well as you might be able to help a little bit better too.
Right. And Laurie, I was thinking while you were speaking, how often we ask a question and someone is so interested, and we've done it before, what they want to say, that they're just not answering the question, that they're saying what's on their mind. So the good thing about asking questions is you see if the question gets answered, or if the person really has something else that they want to tell you. So they need to feel heard. So I like to listen to what they're saying. I like to see if they're listening to the question. And then I also like to see if they self-diagnose and tell me what they want and tell me how they want me to do it. And then I realize how I have to handle that conversation and learn what type of learner they are. So it is very important to know if someone has something on their mind. If they're not able to get it off their chest, they're going to go back to it and they just may not listen to you. So give them an opportunity to say what they have to say, acknowledge it, recite it back to them, and then move on once they agree that you got what they said. Does that make sense?
Right. Absolutely. That does make sense. And also, speaking at events. So you and I both speak at different company corporate events. and all different events around the country, right? And so I know a lot of times people think, or they have this canned speech, right? They say the same speech. Like I have one that's called Double Your Business in a Year, right? So I have this, so to speak, canned speech, but every time I say it somewhere at a different event, I always research who I'm speaking to, that audience, and then I change a few things in that's more customized to those people or agents or whatever that I'm speaking to, right? And so I think that's huge too. We create that too. A lot of our things that we've set up to speak on, right? We'll change them for a different certain company or corporate or certain type of sales agents or sales team, right?
Yes. Well, Laurie, think about double your income. And what if the audience you're speaking to makes six figure? And what if they don't? And what if they make more? And that would mean that they don't make six figure, one way, higher or lower. So we need to speak to that group of people with integrity in authenticity in a way that's easily digestible for them. So the science of speaking is all about knowing our audience, doing our research, and if we don't have time to do our research, be able to do that research on the spot so that we can learn about that person. Laurie, what's the most challenging, and let's take a minute and see, because we all have had those challenging moments. We're on the phone with someone, let's call it a meeting. It could be Zoom, it could be face-to-face. I just said the phone because I spend a lot of time on the phone. What has been the most challenging meeting for you where you were trying to get to meet and know someone and it just wasn't going the way you wanted it to?
Probably the biggest thing is somebody that doesn't talk or they give like one word answers. Like you ask a question that's, very open-ended, but then they reply with, one or two words, even though the question wasn't really a question that you could answer with a one word.
Right. That's difficult when you're like pulling teeth. I used to work in the dental industry. Gosh, over 40 years ago. Should I even say that? My goodness. It is like pulling teeth. Another time that I can think of having difficulty is when someone is talking and they just keep talking and they're not necessarily following what they're saying, but they'll go off on tangents. So what I do learn is I learn that they go off on tangents. But in order to stick to topic or stay on point, especially if I have 15 minutes or 20 minutes or 30 minutes, to be on point is really important, especially if it's a session and it's a client. But typically clients will stop doing that very quickly because they understand that the value of our time is to be spent with an agenda, or at least covering what they need to cover, which is the most important, as opposed to when I would have a therapy session and the therapy session would be random, thoughts, and it could go on about things that were totally different. So when somebody keeps talking and doesn't get to the point and close the point and go to the next point and make it clear, that's a difficult situation because we truly need to listen. And that's where our years of experience and expertise really comes in handy, because sometimes someone will say, what's the difference between speaking to someone who's experienced and someone who isn't? And that is the results that you're going to get. And not to say there's anything wrong with someone who's not experienced. I remember starting out, and there are things that I do today that I'm new at. But the experience of knowing how to handle the tough situations really can make a difference, because we need to be able to give the client, give the customer, give the boss, give the corporation, give the audience what they need. So the science of speaking is deliverables.
Right. And how to be able to slide in there and catch them to stop what they're saying, so you can bring that back on point as well, right?
That's right. And one more funny scenario, I'm sure we've both had it. What about a heckler or someone, I don't know if that's the right word, someone who you're giving a talk, you're on the platform, you're on the stage, and someone is just decided that they are going to do this thing because they want to do it. It's in their mind. How do you handle that?
Depends on who it is or what it is, but a lot of times kind of like acknowledge it, find a way to smile about it, make it just making them be acknowledged, but then kind of go on to the next thing. So that way, especially if it is like an adult, hopefully they get the point. But sometimes it's a child, like somebody might have a child in the audience, but still, if it's like a toddler or above, they're like, oh, she talked to me, and then they'll be good, so a lot of times, that will happen. So, but then even if it's like somebody has, say, a baby in the room that's crying, and they don't get up to leave the room, then you work with it, you find something to say about, no matter what happens, no matter what interruptions you get, the show must go on, right?
Absolutely. And when we are speaking in a scenario where we have an audience, it's always good to have other people assisting us so that they can circumvent and help those people in the audience. If they do have any questions, either run a mic over to them or run over to them and say, if you have any further questions, we can talk about it after. Take the focus off them if it's possible. Acknowledge them, but definitely keep our cool, be professional. The show must go on, and then have some assistance in the audience so those people can feel addressed, and then give them the personal attention when there is no one else around, so that we're not losing an entire audience. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Laurie. I know we wanted to keep this to a brief, quick science of speaking. Do you have any final words for our audience tonight? Any tips that you want them to know about that we didn't cover?
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah. But yeah, if our audience does have any questions or anything, you want to send us any questions, send them right to us directly at facebook.com/gratitudegirls and ask us your question there. And we might feature your question on our next show.
Absolutely. And if you have a question that you would like us to come and present the answer to you, we can set up a Zoom call like this, or if you have something a little bit more in depth, please know that we are available to set that up with you and or your company to create a speaking spot or a customized presentation regarding the training that might be necessary for your company. So if that was clear as mud, you can hire us.
Yes, absolutely. Gratitude Girls are for hire.
Yes, thank you. And we look forward to your questions and your continued support and your continued questions. And we will see you next month on the Gratitude Girls training. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great night, everyone.